Alright, in this video I'm showing how I make these legs for the base of the cabinet. These will just go on to the base legs like this, and they'll be like stiles for the bottom drawers that go on it. I probably overthought a lot of things on these, like glue lines and worrying about wood movement, but in the end they turned out looking pretty good, so I'm happy with it. Now these are gonna go right here on the base, just like this, except I gotta do a cove bit all the way around this. On the bottom part here, it's a 1/4 inch cove. There's gonna be a 1/4 inch reveal all the way around because of that cove bit. So I have a 1/2 inch now, 1/4 inch cove bit, and then 1/4 inch of flat. So you can see I've got all 4 of them, and I'm putting them together with this poplar core plywood, and it's got MDF on the outside. I could probably use something else. I was going to use solid poplar, but I was kind of afraid of the wood movement because I have to wrap this in walnut, so I didn't want the wood movement of the poplar to possibly break apart my walnut veneer around it. So I decided to go this route and just play it safe so I don't have as much wood movement. So it's basically just going to be the 3/32 walnut wrapped around it that's going to move any. So I'm going to glue these up just like this, and then after they're glued up, I'm going to glue another piece of MDF to this side, and mostly that is just to stop any telegraphing from happening on this plywood edge, because the walnut will be fairly thin once I sand it down, and I just don't want to have any chances of something bad happening to these. And you might be wondering why I'm not using solid walnut for this. Well, first of all, I can't use a solid board because it's been very, very hard for me to find any lumber like 10/4 thick. And it's super expensive also, so I've decided to try and do this whole cabinet just with thinner lumber. Like I did on these legs, if you watched my last video where I showed how I made these legs, this is actually 3 pieces of walnut glued together. You can see the glue lines here, but from the sides you can't see it at all. But then I just put some walnut, 1/8 inch walnut around it so that you can't see any of the glue joints from the outside, so it kind of looks just like a solid piece of wood from the outside. And the reason I'm not doing that method on these is, one, I don't have hardly any walnut. I don't have very much, so I'm trying to save my wood. And I was going to do the stickly method by using a lock miter bit for 4 pieces of walnut and try and do that way. But when you do that, you have a miter joint on all 4 corners, so if you over sand one side just a little bit, you're going to ruin your miter edge corner right there. And I want to be able to run these through the drum sander and get them all flat on all 4 sides before I attach them to the cabinet. And if I use the stickly method, running them through the drum sander is a pretty good chance of ruining my miter corner right there. And I wanted to mention why I was worried about this, and I probably was overthinking this part of them also, but you can sand all 4 sides of it and the miter should stay the same. But my problem is I have to have the legs at the exact width square that I needed, and if I sanded it just a little bit too much, it would make my exterior reveal a little bit more than a 1/4 inch. So if I accidentally sanded one side of the leg a little bit too much and sanded through my miter, I would have to sand all the other sides a little bit more to match that, and if I already had my leg to the size I needed when that happened, then I would have to sand my leg down to a little bit undersized, and I didn't want to have to deal with any of that. Again, I was probably way overthinking this, but I didn't have a lot of wood and I didn't want to have to remake any legs because I accidentally tried to go too fast on something and messed it up. Alright, so I got one glued up. This is just what I'm going to do to all the others. I can only glue one at a time because this is all the clamps that I have at the moment. So after I let this sit for 1.5 hours, 2 hours, then I'll clamp it and clamp another, and I'll just do that to all 4.
6 hours later. 6 hours later.
Okay, got them all ran through the drum sander. These legs are supposed to be 2 1/4 square finish size. My base MDF core for the legs are 2 inches and about a 32nd, and I made these almost 3/16 of an inch thick. So when these are glued on here, instead of 2 1/4, I've got about 2 5/16 total width, so that gives me enough for any trim off I need. But you can see when these get together on there, they go together really nice, and you won't be able to see the glue line hardly at all once them are tightened up. And this process of gluing all of the veneer to all 4 sides of the legs took 3 days to do because I only had enough clamps to do one leg at a time. So I would have to glue one leg and let it dry for about 2 hours, then unclamp it and glue another leg, let it dry for 2 hours, and I did on and off to all 4 sides. So when you have 12 glue ups and all the glue ups take 2 hours to dry each time, you've got 6 hours of glue dry time just in one leg.
2,000 years later.
Alright, so got them all done. They still got to be finished sanded and stuff, so the seams will disappear a bit more. But you can see the seams are pretty much invisible on all of them, and where you can see a seam a little bit, I'm making sure to put that seam, like you can kind of see this one, that one's going to go back to the inside of the cabinet, so you'll never even be able to see it. But they turned out pretty good. See, I just got the plywood, then I got a layer of MDF all the way around, and I did an 1/8 inch of the walnut, and it worked out.